viesus. Tā kā turpmāk lekcija ir paredzēta angļu valodā, tad arī šajā brīdī pāriešu uz angļu valodu. Ja nu kādam ir konkrēti jautājumi, tad lūdzu vienmēr esat laipni gaidīt un jautājat. Bet turpmākā saruna tātad notiek angļu valodā. So today I have really great pleasure to present our colleagues from Romania, Dean of Faculty of History of University of Bucharest, Professor Adriāna Čiorojanu, and this academic seminar is organized on the occasion of National Day of Romania, which is celebrated on 1st December. And that has some historical background because that was the date when in 1918 Transylvania and Romania joined and decided to form one United States. So that's in some part beginnings of present-day political territory of Romania. And also this is year when we have seen several commemorations of different events like the 100th anniversary of the First World War, and also this is the year when we can speak about 25th anniversary of the fall of communism. Therefore, also the lecture will be devoted to the issues of quite recent past, also related quite much to the politics, not only to the history. But before Professor is going ahead with his lecture, I would like to give floor to His Excellence, Ambassador of Romania in Republics of Lithuania and Latvia, Mr. Dan Adrian Bolanescu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dean. First of all, thank you very much for coming for this conference. As the Dean has said, the Embassy is organizing a cycle of conferences devoted to the events that took place in Romania 25 years ago. If you know, during that time, the communist regime in Romania was overthrown by a violent movement, and on the 22nd of December, the former president, the communist president Ceausescu, he fled Bucharest, and afterwards he was arrested. In that event, a lot of people died, more than 1,000, and now we are celebrating and commemorating those events. So Professor Čiorojanu was actually also Minister of Foreign Affairs of Romania in 2007 and 2008. We will speak about those events, but not only those. We will refer also to to other countries in the region, Republic of Moldova, Ukraine. Afterwards, after the lecture, you are really invited, and I encourage you to ask questions about Romania and the situation in the region, whatever is of interest for you. So thank you again for coming, and I invite Professor Čiorojanu to have his presentation.
Excellent, thank you. Please.
Just to give some more introductory words. Concerning our, let's say, schedule. So we're going to have a lecture for about 40-45 minutes. Afterwards, everybody is really encouraged to ask questions, not only related to the topics of issue, but about any question related to history of Romania and politics of Romania. And afterwards, Ambassador very kindly will invite all of us to a glass of wine and continuation of discussions in informal atmosphere as well. Yes, currently now it's time to turn to the lecture by Professor Adriāna Čiorojanu, 25 years after the fall of communism, consequences for today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dean. Dear friends, let me say that it is a great pleasure for me to be here, of course. This is my first visit to Latvia, and I'm obliged to, thanks to the university, the Faculty of History, and also to our embassy in Vilnius, but also our ambassador, Mr. Bolanescu. He's the Romanian ambassador in Lithuania and Latvia. And as you just heard, my topic today is 25 years after the communism. and no doubt that you remember a novel that probably you read during your when you were teenagers, 20 years after the novel of Alexandre Dumas, the French writer. And at the edge, just imagine that at the edge when I read that novel, I believed that 20 years represents a very long period of time. Today, as a professor, I'm a history professor, as you heard, I know that 20 years is just a moment in the long flow of history. From the time of the historian Herodotus until today, we know that 20 or 25 years is just the difference between two generations. The generation of a father and the next generation of a son. From this point of view, it is rather difficult to speak about the last 25 years since the collapse of communism. A new generation arises in the world during these years. The students that I met in my faculty today, just like you, in my faculty in Bucharest, were born in 1991 or 1992 or even 1995. And these 25 years were, as you can imagine, full of failures, but also victories for us, both for my country and, I should say, for your country. But what thing is certain, comparing to our countries 25 years ago, we live today in a completely different world. As you surely know, Romania was until 1989 under a dictatorial communist regime, whose leader was Nicolae Ceausescu. Ceausescu was surprised by the riots that broke out in Timișoara in December 1989. Timișoara is in the western part of Romania. This is the capital, Bucharest. Nicolae Ceausescu, the communist leader, was in Bucharest. And as I said, he was surprised by the riots in Timișoara. And he left the seat of its power, the Central Committee of the Communist Party. He left the Central Committee in a helicopter on December 22, 1989, at 6 minutes past 12. So at the midday, he left his power. His intention was to go to the mountain, and he was arrested here in the city of Târgoviște. Târgoviște is a Slavic name. You must understand that today Romania is composed by the former medieval province of Moldova. This is Moldova. This is Wallachia, the southern part of Romania, and this is Transylvania. This is Transylvania. Transylvania, it's a Latin word. It means beyond the forest. Transsilve. As you can imagine, during the Roman Empire was in the south of the Danube, and for the Romans, this territory beyond the mountains, these are the Romanian Carpathians mountains, and beyond the Silve, beyond the forest, was Transylvania. So Nicolae Ceausescu left Bucharest on December 22nd, and he was arrested in Târgoviște. Ceausescu was arrested, as I told you, a few hours later, on 22nd, but its capture did not clarify things in Bucharest. The anti-communist revolution in Romania, as Mr. Ambassador just told you, was the bloodiest one in all the revolutions of Eastern Europe. over 1,100 dead, and more than 3,000 were wounded during the fights. In the as historians, as you can imagine, we may ask ourselves why the Romanian Revolution was so dramatic and so bloody. And the answer may be puzzling for you. One possible explanation for the Romanian bloody revolution is the fact that the Communist Party in Romania was very nationalistic and very suspicious regarding the Soviet Union. In the hierarchy of the Communist Party in Bucharest, under Nicolae Ceausescu, there was not a second political team capable to listen to the suggestion of Michael Gorbachev. In 1989, those in the leadership team of Nicolae Ceausescu, they refused perestroika and glasnost, saying that perestroika and glasnost were tools used by the Soviet Union in order to intervene in their neighboring communist countries. In Romania, the street fight between those who are calling themselves men of the revolution and the special units of the Ceausescu's regime ceased only on December 25th, when Nicolae Ceausescu and his wife were executed. They were executed here in Târgoviște. And Mr. Professor just told me that he visited, your professor told me that he visited the military unit. It was a military unit where Nicolae Ceausescu and his wife were executed. Now it's a museum, was transformed in a museum, as you can imagine. So they were executed on 25th of December. Before the execution, the Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu were subjected to a kind of trial in which they received 5 counts. According, among other accusations, Ceausescu was charged with a death of 60,000 people. So the death of 60,000 people. And he was accused having the intention to flee the country with $1 million deposited in foreign banks somewhere in Europe. But in the last 25 years, both allegations were proven to be false. Today, my students, they are the same age as you. My students are simply horrified when they see the TV footages from that process. But Ceausescu's trial should not be judged by our democratic procedures of today. In fact, Ceausescu's process was the last Stalinist process in Romania. Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu were judged by the perverted standards of justice promoted by the Communist Party for 40 years. So the Romanian communism ended as it began. In 1946, in Romania, the communist regime was imposed by violence. And in 1989, the same regime crashed violently. As a historian, here I see a kind of symmetry, a painful and dramatic symmetry in our contemporary history. In the year 1990, Romania started a very painful and very complicated political transition to democracy. In those years, I still was a student in Bucharest, and all I can remember is a political, economic, but also a social chaos, a multi-dimensional chaos. Our political confrontations were very violent, and the economic performances of the new regime were rather pathetic. The first post-communist Romanian president, Ion Iliescu, was a former communist opponent of Nicolae Ceausescu, but he was suspected to have had a privileged relationship with Mikhail Gorbachev, with Soviet Union. The only product that was found in abundance on the market in the 90s was the freedom of expression. But as you know, without a social maturity, freedom of expression is rather pointless. The first big positive step during the 90s was recorded in 1996, when the former Communist Party, which had become a social democratic party, lost power after some free and fair elections. In the fall of 1996, a coalition of several right-wing parties came to power. The new president of Romania became Emil Constantinescu. Before of that, he was a professor at the Faculty of Geology in our University of Bucharest. In the fall of, let me say that, as you can imagine, Romania had some opportunities, but also many challenges during the second half of the 90s. And the most important chance for Romania was one that you know it as well. Our common chance in Romania, but also in Latvia, was the political crisis that led to the implosion of the Soviet Union in 1991, and later to the economic crisis undergone by Russia in the 90s. I hope I'll not surprise you saying that the economic crisis in Russia was a chance for countries like Romania or Poland or Bulgaria or the Baltic countries, including Latvia. If the Soviet Union had survived the year 1991, or if Russia would have been stronger during the 90s, it is doubtful that the road of Romania or Latvia to Western structures would have been so successful. As elsewhere in Europe, during the 90s, the Romanian intellectuals rediscovered a discipline that combines geography and history. Its name is geopolitics. Let us accept that during the 90s, the geopolitics was favorable in order to connect our countries to the Western world. It was a historic opportunity that we should and we must properly appreciate. But our previous history teaches us that our region will never be free of problems. In the first decade of post-communism, Romania's main problem was the chaos that was installed after the fall of the communist regime. First of all, what we called capitalism has turned to be a law of the jungle, where the most daring and the strongest won the most. State ownership was largely destroyed, and the transition profiteers divided the former state property between them. This law of the jungle, of this perverse social Darwinism, in which the strongest take it all, led to another problem, a widespread corruption that has infected all areas in our social life. Sorry to say, but as a historian, I know that this corruption was a collateral consequence of the fall of communism, especially in southern Eastern Europe, in countries as Romania or Bulgaria or Serbia. Corruption was seen in the 90s as a kind of side effect of the return to the capitalist economy. I know that the Baltic countries, Latvia included, had their own problems with corruption. Let me remind you that our neighbors were in the northeast during the communist regime, in the northeast Soviet Union. Now our northern frontier is Ukraine. In the east it's Republic of Moldova. In the southern frontier it's with Bulgaria. In the southwestern part of Romania it's Serbia. You know, the former Yugoslavia, now Serbia, and in the western part it's Hungary. This is our neighbor Hungary. Okay, in fact, the corruption is not only a matter of difference between southern and northern Europe. In reality, corruption flourishes everywhere where there is no real rule of law. And Romania of the 90s fully known the phenomenon of corruption, and its effects and consequences are seen until today into the Romanian society. Another difficult problem for Romania in the 90s was the conflict in the former Yugoslavia. So, during the communist period, here was Yugoslavia. As you know, at the beginning of the 90s, it was a war started there. And for the Romanians during the 80s, Yugoslavia seemed to be a country of ideological equilibrium. Yugoslavia had some Western freedoms while maintaining the social benefits of the communist regime. The wars in former Yugoslavia during the 90s were a real shock for all the Romanians, and a peaceful, as you can imagine, a peaceful and a prosperous multi-ethnic and multi-confessional country suddenly became a battlefield. Through the Orthodox religion and through the historical tradition, the Romanians seem to be closer in their feelings to the Serbs. But anyway, intra-Yugoslav wars meant a warning to all of us in our geographical area. Needless to say that the war in former Yugoslavia had greatly delayed all the Western investment in all the southeastern countries. I say that because today all of us, Romanians or Latvians, we face the same problem with the nowadays conflict in Ukraine. What is happening right now in Ukraine is clearly a purely and simple geopolitical conflict. But it is also clear that it obstructs foreign investment in our area. Our common interest today is an independent Ukraine as close as possible to the Western structures. But unfortunately, the Ukraine of today has no chance that our countries have had in the 90s when Russia seemed to finally accept its place on the map. During the last 25 years, Romania had two main priorities, and fortunately it carried out those priorities. The first priority was one relating to our security. It was the admission into the North Atlantic Alliance, NATO. The first attempt of Romania to join NATO was in 1997, when the Alliance Summit was held in Madrid, the capital of Spain. But Romania was postponed in 1997, and after the Madrid Summit, the American President Bill Clinton came to Bucharest, and he clearly said that Romania will soon become a NATO member if it will maintain a pro-Western internal and foreign policy. I was in that crowd that received the American president in July 1997 when he visited Bucharest, and I still remember the enthusiasm of all my fellow Romanians shouting USA, USA, or NATO, NATO. For all of us, NATO meant a kind of ticket to a club that we admired and we wanted to belong. Shortly speaking, NATO meant our accession into the Western world. The admission into the NATO came during the next NATO summit, the summit of 2002 in Prague. It's a summit that you probably you know it quite well also. There it was decided that Romania and Bulgaria, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia and Slovakia will become members of the North Atlantic Alliance. Look at the map of the Europe and you will understand that this was the summit which probably annoyed the most the Russian government in 2002. After the NATO affiliation, the next priority for Romania was the admission into the European Union. From this point of view, the Baltic countries, like Latvia, had the chance to enter earlier. In 2004, Romania and Bulgaria followed later in 2007. And from this point of view, I was a lucky man. Just imagine that I was appointed in March 2007. I was appointed the foreign minister of my country, so I was the first foreign minister of my country after Romania joined the European Union. A bit later, in April 2008, also as a minister, I had the honor and the privilege to organize the NATO summit in Bucharest, the summit who debated about integration prospect from Ukraine and for Georgia and Ukraine. Unfortunately, Georgia and Ukraine have not received the membership action plan. That's the name of the procedure, MAP, or membership action plan. They did not receive the membership action plan in 2008, and maybe the consequences of this decision, I think we are capable to see them now in our times. Another priority for Romania was to solve as far as possible the internal problems of our minorities. And let me tell you something about our minorities. We have a quite important Hungarian minority in Transylvania, around 6% Hungarians in Transylvania. And also we have a Roma or a Gypsy minorities. They are around 3% practically all over the country. The majority of citizens are, ethnically speaking, are Romanians, around 89%. So 6% Hungarians, around 3% Roma or Gypsies. We have a tiny minority, German minority, in the center of Romania, and in this department of Timișoara, German minorities, but not a very large one. And in the early 90s, there were some tensions between the Romanian majority and the Hungarian minority. Things have changed significantly since 1996, when the political party of the Hungarian minority has been included in the governing coalition. And until today, with few exceptions, the party of the Hungarian minority was part of all coalitions who led Romania. Minorities now are fully integrated into the life of the Romanian state, and in the parliament in Bucharest, each national minority is represented regardless of its electoral weight. But the most delicate situation was had by the Roma minority, or by the Gypsies. They also have a political party, but the party does not receive the votes of the Roma communities. All the Romanian scholars admit that the Roma or Gypsy minority is the least integrated into the Romanian society. We will probably need some decades and a lot of education and a lot of positive discrimination in order to improve the situation of the Roma or Gypsy minority in my country. Finally, let me give you some good news. Some good news for the Romanian democracy and for the situation of minorities in Romania. some good news who came 2 weeks ago when an ethnic German Romanian citizen from Transylvania was elected president of Romania. Just imagine that wonderful city of Sibiu. Sibiu in the, let's say, medieval time was a German town, Sibiu, and the mayor of Sibiu, Klaus Iohannis, it's the name of this guy, Klaus Iohannis, he was elected 2 weeks ago as president of Romania. In our system, the whole population of the country during the vote choose the president. So please let me say that the election of Klaus Iohannis was a surprise, not only for the Romanians, but for all our partners in the European Union. Let me remind you that Klaus Iohannis is neither an ethnic Romanian nor an Orthodox. He is a Protestant, a Lutheran Protestant. And the election of this kind of president would have been impossible 25 years ago, or 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago. That shows us that democracy and the tolerance are the best solution for all the ethnic problems. From the religious point of view, Romania is more than, I don't know, 75%. We are Orthodox, Christian Orthodox, like the Serbs, the Greeks, the Russians, the Bulgarians. But our minorities, the Hungarians, they are Catholics or Protestants. The Germans also, they are Protestants or Catholics. Some of Romanians in Transylvania are Greco-Catholics, you know, that kind of religious affiliation of the Orthodox to the Pope, Greco-Catholics. And I'll pass over saying that another priority that Romania had in the last 25 years has been its relationship with the current Republic of Moldova. So Republic of Moldova, our eastern neighbor. As you probably know, during our history, this province was a part of the Romanian province of Moldova. So we have a Moldova on the Romanian, let's say, map, but the republic next to us, they called themselves Republic of Moldova. In 1812, this territory, which is called Basarabia in Romania, let's say the traditional name is Basarabia. In 1812, this territory was annexed by the Russian Tsarist Empire. In April 1918, Basarabia united with Romania, and the province was part of the Romanian state until 1940. In the summer of the year 1940, the Soviet Union invaded the territory, and let me say that the desire to recover Basarabia was one of the reasons why in June 1941 the Romanian army attacked the Soviet Union along with Hitler's Germany. Wow, it was as you can imagine, it was a political mistake. But as a historian, I must say that one of the reasons for this alliance of Romania with Hitler's Germany was in order to take over again the eastern part of Bessarabia. In the fall of 1941, Romania restarted its control on Bessarabia, but this control lasted only 3 years, until the Soviet offensive of 1944. In 1991, when the Republic of Moldova declared its independence, Romania was the first state to recognize it, and since then the relations between the two countries have positively developed. We must say the truth, in Moldova there are a significant number of Russian-speaking citizens. A part of them, they feel closer to, let's say, to Moscow than to Chisinau. Chisinau is the capital of Republic of Moldova. But the other citizens of Republic of Moldova, a lot of them, they want to be Europeans too, and just 5 days ago, last Sunday, this Sunday, they held some parliamentary elections in the Republic of Moldova, and some pro-European parties seems to be able to have the majority in their parliament. For the next period, Romania's relations with Moldova will focus on encouraging pro-European orientation of Republic of Moldova. From this point of view, I know that the authorities of Latvia think and act the same. It is in our common interest that Moldova, Republic of Moldova, will hopefully become a state based on the European principle and values, a democratic, politically independent, and economically prosperous country as possible. Let me approach the end of my conference. Let me propose to you some conclusions. So these 25 years since the fall of communism, it is a short period in the long history of the Romanian people, but these 25 years have meant some very profound changes and reforms. Some reforms were very tough, some were painful, but it is certain that Romania has gone in the right direction. In fact, the Romania's direction was good, but the speed of the evolution was the only problem. And I think that this is true for most of the post-communist countries in our area. It remains to be seen which could be Romania's priorities for the coming decades. Some believes that the priority should be improving the standard of living and strengthening the democratic institutions of the state. In recent years, several trials, some have provided the delight of the Romanian press. A former prime minister, several ministers, and even more members of the parliament have been arrested, or they are under investigations even in these days. They are accused of corruption, of course. Of course, Romania is far from a perfect country, as you can imagine, but fortunately, in this country, it is increasingly risky to be a corrupt politician or businessman. At the present, all our public debates suggest different priorities. Some Romanians said that they want our country to adopt the euro currency. We don't have euro as a currency. We kept until now our national currency. The name is leu or lion. That's the name of our, let's say, still quite strong currency, leu. So some Romanians, they say that we must adopt the euro currency, and some others says that we must not hurry in that direction. Some others say that the next Romanian priority should be, why not, the unification with the Republic of Moldova. A lot of them, they say they are Romanians, they speak Romanian, But as you can imagine, others are more skeptical about that and say that the Republic of Moldova must be closer to Brussels in order to gain its real sovereignty. As a final point, let me say that a considerable and increasingly higher minority in Romania believes that Romania should restore the monarchy as my country was until 1947. I don't know if you know, but the last king of Romania, King Michael, he is still alive. Born in 1921, he was the ruler of Romania between September 1940 and December 1947, when he was banished from the country by the Romanian communists, of course, at the suggestion of the Soviet Union. In the early 90s, King Michael was still an unwanted person in Romania, and the first post-communist government forbade him to visit the country. But today, the 93 years old King Michael, he lives in Romania, and he's one of the most esteemed citizens of the country. And more, many of my students say that Romania should return to its historical tradition and replace republic with a constitutional monarchy. Who knows? So we can say that Romania was and still is a paradoxical country. Some paradoxes. Romanians say about themselves that they are a very peaceful people, but the anti-communist revolution in Romania was the most violent in Eastern Europe. The Romanians are a Latin people, but they are not Catholics, as the rest of the Latin Europeans. The majority of the Romanians, as I told you, are Orthodox Christians, like our, let's say, Eastern and Southern neighbors, Russians, Bulgarians, Serbs, the Greeks in the south. So the Romanians are mostly Orthodox people, but the country's new president is a Protestant Christian. Finally, Romania is a parliamentary republic, but nevertheless, one of the most trustworthy people in Romania is a king, as I told you, King Michael. Dear friends, if you want to understand all these paradoxes, why not try to visit Romania one day, and you certainly will be surprised, I hope in a positive way. Let me thank you for your attention, and now if you have some questions, I'm ready to respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We can, the lights maybe, in order to be more visible.
I'm sure you will not be disappearing. Yeah, well, time for questions, comments.
Is it possible that Romania and Moldova will unite in some future?
Yeah, thank you. Sincerely, I don't think that's the priority, neither for Romania nor for Republic of Moldova. It is my humble opinion. In my opinion, they must find a way to be closer to the European Union, first of all. And I'm always impressed when I visit the Republic of Moldova, their capital, Chișinău. They were under the Soviet leadership from 1944 till 1991, when they declared their independence. And I'm quite impressed. Every time I'm impressed that they kept the Romanian language and so on. A lot of them, they feel they are Romanians. But right now, their independence was recognized, officially recognized by Romania. And sincerely, I think that the most important step for them is to strengthen their democracy and to be closer to the European Union.
vision of future for Moldova is that it will be in close relations with Romania, but independent state.
My vision, my desire, yeah, my desire is to see a European Republic of Moldova, a European integrated Republic of Moldova.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe I have a question of some sort. Like, we compared Romania with Latvia during this transition to democracy in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
In Latvia, for instance, a huge factor that has symbolized this period is the emigration and depopulation, the reduction in populace. It was about 2.3 million in the 1990s, now it's about 2 million. Sort of a big drop. And I wanted to ask, like, what was the impact of immigration or depopulation in Romania in the 90s and still in these days?
Yeah, it's a very important question. And let me thank you for that. Just imagine that we have around 3 million Romanians who work abroad. They work and they live abroad, mainly in Italy, in Spain, in France. From these 3 millions, maybe more than 80% are in Italy, France, and Spain. It's quite easily for a Romanian to learn Italian or Spanish. We need, let's say, 2 weeks in order to learn Italian, and maybe 3 weeks to learn Spanish. With the French, it's much more difficult, as you know.
1 month.
Maybe, wow, okay, 2 months. Okay. But anyhow, there are 3 millions of Romanians who live abroad. It is, why not, a depopulation. The problem for all of us, not only Romania, but also Latvia, the whole Europe, our real problem is the rate of natality. That's the term, huh? The rate?
Birth rate.
The birth rate, yeah, the birth rate. The European birth rate level, it's around 1.5 or 6, 1.5. And the sociologists, they said that for a population, in order to keep a certain demographic number, the birth rate must be 2 point something, 2.1, 2.2. So all the Europe is in a way depopulated. We speak about an older Europe. It's clear that we speak about an older Romania or Latvia or, I don't know, Germany or Italy or Sweden. All the Europe is in the process of aging. So, but on the other hand, that process, maybe it's a natural one. Just imagine that during the communist regime, it was practically impossible to exit Romania in the 80s. And the desire to visit the world, to try to work abroad, was quite strong in the 90s. And even now, it is still strong. A lot of young Romanians are attracted by the West, I don't know, the salaries, the level of life, the way of life. So still it is a problem that we must deal with. Yeah.
So actually, it means that you don't see this partly economical migration as some kind of problem or threat to Romanian economics and population.
No, for me it's not a menace. If they work into the European Union, a lot of them, they send the money back to Romania to their families. A lot of them build new homes in Romania. So they are European citizens, in fact. So, in my opinion, it's not a menace for the Romanian state.
Okay.
The population, let me remind you that the population of my country, it's around 21 point something millions. So with our Romanians abroad, around 23, 24 millions.
Well, it makes difference to Latvia a little bit. Approximately 10 times more.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are bigger than Latvia, but comparing to, I don't know, to China, all of us are, are Lilliputians.
Yeah, Odo.
Please.
I wanted to ask, so you mentioned now relations with Moldova and so, but I would like to ask, what are now relations between Romania and Hungary? Because you mentioned so huge minority living in Transylvania. And I also spoke with one of my friends. He's also Romanian, and he said yes, from all the neighbors, those are ones which we have to say do not love so much as other neighbors probably.
During our history, we, as you can imagine, Transylvania, let me remind you, Transylvania, the western part of Romania was part of the Habsburg Empire. After that, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Transylvania united with Romania in December 1918. That's the reason 1st of December is the National Day of Romania, because Transylvania united with Romania on 1st December. And I'll be very frank with you. We made a lot of mistakes with the Romanians, the Hungarians. We did a lot of mistakes during our history. But the full half of the glass is that in the last 20 years, and mainly after Hungary, and after that Romania became member of the European Union, relations are much more improved. The Hungarian minority in Romania is not a huge one. 6%. It's let's say a medium level minority. The Romanian state, of course, it's in a way obliged to deal with that minority, and I'm happy to say that the relations right now are much better than 20 years ago. At the beginning of the 90s, there were a lot of tensions after the fall of the communist regime. In that period of liberty, chaotic liberty sometimes. But I must say that relations right now are, in my opinion, on a positive trend. We have sometimes, from time to time, some problem, but not necessarily with the Hungarian minority. Maybe some political problems, not only Romanians. In the interior of the European Union, we have sometimes problem with the party who he's in the leading position in Hungary right now. Their prime minister, the Hungarian prime minister Viktor Orban, it's a kind of right-wing party, and for instance, he chose a Romanian town this summer in July. He chose a Romanian town in Transylvania. He came and he gave a speech saying that Hungary will be a non-liberal state. He said an illiberal state. And he said that we must admit that other countries are not liberal societies, but they succeed in order to give a better life to their citizens. And he named Russia, China, and Turkey. And okay, there were some discussions, debates, not only Romania, but you know, the let's say United Europe. So we don't have a real problem with the Hungarian minorities. From time to time, there are some political declarations from Budapest or from Bucharest who make a little noise, but that's politics. So I'm quite sure that we must treat all these kind of problems with attention, but with a calm attention.
Yeah, Odo.
I know I was very clear, but if you somehow have another question, don't hesitate. You can also, I don't know, ask in Latvian or in Romanian, if you know. So
Don't hesitate to use
don't hesitate to use Romanian or French or I don't know. Sorry to say, but I didn't study the other languages. I can speak, I don't know, German or Russian. I speak French or English. Please.
Okay. Reminding about the population, about what we talked, ain't it also a problem of the European free liberal market economy, which is kind of exhausting itself in nowadays, because it is searching for new states which to add to its market to become global, and ain't this the reason that the Romanians they just can't find their free places in this market. They're free their economic business to do, and that's why they have to like flee the country and search for it in other states and of the Europe, and if they can't find it there, they have, like, I don't know, right to USA or something.
Yeah. It's a normal. Let's say it's a normal question, and the place of Romania in the economic system in Europe, it's one of the most delicate subjects in Bucharest. You can imagine that. It's clear that, I don't know, one of my students, maybe he's tempted to go to Western Europe because, I don't know, in France or in Spain or Italy, for sure the salary will be bigger than in Romania. And it's a natural choice for all human beings to try to gain more if it's possible. The debate in Romania is what we'll choose will be, let's say, an agricultural country. We have an excellent soil. We have an excellent soil in this southeastern part of Europe. Or we'll try to have some industries, I don't know, high-tech industries or machine industries. One of our most successful products right now, it's a car. It's the Romanian affiliated branch of Renault, the French Renault. It's a car named Dacia. Is the best seller car from Renault. It's produced in Romania. It's our national, in a way, our national car. Just imagine that the first Dacia was constructed during the 60s. So every nostalgic memory of my parents, of my relatives, all the relatives, they named Dacia as a kind of symbol of the best year of communism. As you can imagine, a lot of all the Romanians, they still have a lot of nostalgic memories regarding the 60s or the beginning of the 70s. Right then, communist system looked functional. And it is a debate what will produce. Fortunately, we are not energetically dependent. We import only around 24% of our necessity of gas. We import it from Russia. The rest is provided by our sources. We found our shale gas capacities also, so that's a chance for us. And also, once again, the soil in Romania, and our, let's say, our part of Europe, from Ukraine to Bulgaria and Serbia, the soil it's quite a good one. So agriculture it's still a chance for all of us. It's clear also that after the communist regime, it was not only a depopulation. The depopulation was not the only problem. Desindustrialization was also a problem. We destroyed a lot of industrial facilities that we had in the 80s, saying that we don't need them, they are, I don't know, they are
Not profitable.
yeah, not profitable and so on. But I think the next decade will be more decisive in that aspect. We must make a choice between technology, high tech, or I don't know, agriculture, or maybe combine all of them in order to.
High-tech agriculture.
Yeah, why not? High tech agriculture, why not? What a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jums bija jautājums tagad.
Well, maybe just a quick one, like more of your personal opinion. Also again about Moldova. Is the Moldovan integration into the EU or maybe eventual union with Romania, is it like possible without solving the problem of Transnistria?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Can you help me in order to find a, sir? Can you help me to find a map of Republic of Moldova, in order to? Yeah, it's a very correct, it's a very right question. Just let me remind for all your, yeah, excellent. Just let me remind for you, all your colleagues, the problems. Excellent. The problem for this is Republic of Moldova. The problem for Republic of Moldova is this region named Transnistria. Transnistria means the other shore of the Dniester. Dniester is a river, the river Dniester, and Transnistria it's beyond the Dniester. It's a region. 1/3 of the population they speak Romanian. 1/3 they speak Russian, and the other 1/3 they speak Ukrainian. So let's say 1/3 Romanian speakers, 2/3 Russian and Ukrainian speakers. And let me say that the Russian and Ukrainian speakers, they say that they are closer to Russia, and practically it's a region that Republic of Moldova don't control right now. It was a war, as you probably know, at the beginning of the 90s. It was a war between the Republic of Moldova's government and some militias, pro-Russian militias from Transnistria. It is a problem. Why not? It's, in my opinion, maybe the main problem. Because in Tiraspol, this is the so-called capital of Transnistria, there are maybe 1,500 Russian soldiers right there. The conflict in Transnistria, it's what we call a frozen conflict. You know the expression, frozen conflict. There are a lot of frozen conflicts in the post-Soviet region, in Transnistria, in Abkhazia, in Nagorno-Karabakh, in Azerbaijan and Armenia. So the conflict in Transnistria is frozen for the moment, but as I told you, unfortunately, the government from Chisinau don't really control this region. the eastern region of Republic of Moldova. And it will be difficult for them to be closer and closer to the European Union, having on their territory a number of Russian soldiers. They are, let's say, peacekeeping mission, but let me say that peacekeeping mission in that condition means a pro-Russian force. So that's the main problem for the Republic of Moldova. They had elections, as I told you, Sunday, and fortunately for my opinion, in my opinion, the next government will be a pro-European one. Okay.
Jā, lūdzu, vēl jautājumi.
Please.
I wonder how possible is chance rebuild that tradition of constitutional monarchy?
Yeah. Wow. What can I say? Just imagine that 20 years ago, when I was still a student, among my colleagues, there were maybe, I don't know, 5% of my students were pro-monarchy. Right now, not only in my faculty, but in a lot of faculties in Romania, there are around 30 or 40% of the students are in favor of the monarchy. Who knows? Maybe it's just the sympathy for the king. As I told you, King Michael is still alive, 93 years, and maybe that sentiment, pro-monarchic sentiment, maybe can be a sympathy for the king. And who knows, one day maybe our king will leave us, and we'll see if the pro-monarchic sentiment will survive after that. Maybe it will be strengthened. Why not? Maybe it will be will diminish. So it is a question. It is certain that especially among the young generation, the pro-monarchy feeling is stronger than ever in the last 25 years, of course. In 1947, in December 1947, 1947, excuse me, December 1947, when King Michael was forced to abdicate, he was a quite popular figure in Romania. So for a lot of Romanians, the older one, but also the younger generation, all of them, they think that Republic was a byproduct of the Soviet occupation. So that's the problem with the Republic. They see the Republic as a fruit of the Soviet occupation, as a consequence of the Soviet occupation. So who knows? The next generation will decide. At the national level, among, I don't know, 18 or 20 or 22% of the population thinks, see the monarchy as a solution for the moment.
Well, so you actually almost suppose that it would be even a realistic project for some 20, 30 years to restore monarchy.
Yeah, who knows, history will continue. I suppose you read the book of Francis Fukuyama, the end of history and so on. Okay, maybe the liberal idea will win the battle one day, but history will go on, history will continue, so who knows. It's clear that among the possibilities, among the possible priorities, the pro-monarchic idea is one of them.
Okay. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not, who knows. It's difficult to bet on the future, you know. I'm sure that you'll find in your library a book written by a philosopher born in a Christian philosopher born in Liban, Nicholas Taleb, The Black Swan. The Black Swan is the title. Nicholas Taleb, the writer, he said that when someone tell you a swan, you imagine a white swan, a Walt Disney kind white swan. But you must know that somewhere in New Zealand there exists a black swan. So it's possible to have also a black swan. And Nicholas Taleb said that the history is made by black swans. All what we don't expect. In the year 400 before Christ, the army, the Persian army, was defeated by the Greeks against all odds. This is a black swan into the history. Or just imagine Albania, who became a member of NATO before Yugoslavia, who was the most liberal communist country. Albania, who was the most retrograde and restrictive and so on. Albania become a member, NATO country, member of NATO, and Yugoslavia disappeared. This is another black swan in history. So who knows? Once again, history is made by black swans. Try to read Nicholas Taleb.
How do you think if this monarchy will manifest itself? Will it be more like will it be like a strong one, a serious one, or it will be more like symbolical, like in the United Kingdom?
Yeah, I'll be very honest with you. We imported in a way the monarchic institution in 1866. It was the Belgian model of the monarchy. So a constitutional monarchy. The king was the mediator in the Romanian society, not a real player. So a constitutional monarchy. Once again, the model was the Belgian constitution and also the Belgian monarchy in 1866.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The children of Michael the King Michael. What they are thinking about this idea?
Oh, I suppose they completely agree. I don't know. The problem, let's say, a problem, is the detail that the king had no sons. He has 5 daughters, and according to the traditional constitution, the next, in order to take the throne, must be the firstborn boy. But, okay, that's just a detail. He tried, as you can imagine, to have a son. It happens.
Lūdzu, vēl kādi jautājumi?
Yes, and I would like to ask, so you said that, of course, in time there have changed systems and economical developments, level of corruption, so that as well. But I would like to ask, is there something, like you also could see, like historical, is there something which makes really Romanian identity, which you know that this will not change in 10 or 50, 20 years, and so on?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think there are some characteristic. As a professor, not as a politician or, I don't know, former minister, as a professor, I think that the real division in Europe is not between East and West. The real division is between North and South. It really exists a charm of the life in the South, but in the meantime, it's clear for me that Romania will never be something similar to Sweden or, I don't know, Netherlands, or even Germany. Romania will be closer, let's say, in our social manifestation, but also political manifestation, will be closer to Italy or Greece, the southern part of Europe, or Bulgaria, or I don't know, our southern neighbors, but also our Latin relatives. Between, if you one day, if you'll visit Romania, mainly the southern part of Romania, we'll see a lot of similarities with what you can live in the southern part of Italy or southern part of Spain or France. It is a mark of the southern Europe, so that's something that I can imagine will stay pretty much the same during our history. We had a lot of scandals in our politics, not only after 1990. We have some scandals in the interwar period or before the First World War. But look at the, I don't know, the Greek politics right now. Let me say that the Romanian politics is better than the Greek politics. Or the Italian politics. All the Romanians, we very much are, I don't know, empathic to the Italians. It's a kind of sympathy toward the Italians. But I must recognize that the Italian politics, it's worse than the Romanian one. So,
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something else? I'll ask.
I think it was okay, Mr. Dean.
Actually, more or less, I may agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Well,
let me say that it was a pleasure. Really, it was a pleasure.
Actually, that is also our pleasure. And
let me say that we share. You know, we share the same saint patron.
Yeah, that's true.
His name is Andres, from Andrew, I suppose.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. My name is Adrian. So I don't have a cent. May I?
You may borrow my cent. No problem.
May I borrow your cent?
No problem. Not at all. Yeah.
Okay.
So and
I receive a gift, I think.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Because
how intuitive.
Well, you had a great job, and that's really our pleasure to see you here and discuss issues about Romania. Because well, it's not so often when we can see and invite professor from Romania here. But relationships between Latvia and Romania had quite long history. Already in 1920s, we established quite close relationships. And therefore, I'd like to present you a book about Romanian-Latvian relations that was done by joint project with Professor Adriāns and Romanian colleagues. So, and I hope that we will have good relations in future, and we will actually elaborate our mutual cooperation in education between our faculties.
Excellent.
So let's go for a bright future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andres. Thank you very much. Thank you. The Romanian-Latvian relations, diplomatic documents, 1918-1958. Of course, we are the children of the, let's say, First World War. Latvia or Romania, what we call Greater Romania, Romania including Transylvania, it is a product of the First World War, as the independence of Latvia, that's clear. So, despite our north-south difference, we have some similarities in our history. That's clear. Thank you very much, Andres.
Thank you very much.
Okay.